guys, and I do apologize if you can hear the air conditioner. It's literally like right up on the wall here. But I am going to be doing a cook with me today. I haven't done one in so long because I just haven't had a chance. When I stopped doing them, when I first stopped doing them, it was more because of a mental thing. I wasn't prepared for filming out in the kitchen. I wanted to keep everything about my YouTube just in my room. But now, I don't know, I feel a little bit better about filming. My stepdad obviously isn't home. No one is home except for me. He won't be home for another hour and a half or so. So that actually gives me it's not that I'm not allowed to film here. Just want to point that out. It's just I didn't want to. I don't like filming with him around because his office is just there and he will be on the computer the whole time and you just won't be able to hear what I say. So I'm going to do a cook with me today, and this is again another chicken video. I apologize, guys, but I think this is something that I wanted to show you guys for ages, and I actually filmed it last time I made it on my phone. I filmed it, but I never ever ended up showing you guys what the end result was. So I had to delete that because basically you would have got a photo of an empty plate. So I'm going to start off and film it today, and the rest of it I may finish off on my phone if I have to, so I apologise if the end of the video goes a little bit less quality because that'll be on my phone. But basically I'm going to be doing like not butter chicken like Indian chicken, but burnt butter garlic herb chicken. It is so good, absolutely amazing. I don't actually have exact measurements for things, but I'm not joking when I say it is one of the best things I have ever made up in my entire life. So to start off with, you're going to want your herbs. Now I have obviously put all of mine just on this little plate so I could bring it in. These are fresh herbs. I have here sage, which is what these leaves are. I have curly parsley. I have spring onions or shallots, whatever you want to call them. I have rosemary. I have thyme, oregano, basil, and I also have flat leaf parsley. So some of it looks a little bit sad because it's been out in the sun. It's like an incredibly hot day today, and I actually was trimming my basil and oregano incorrectly, so it looks a bit sad, but I just pulled the leaves and stuff off for now, like the actual branches and stuff, because I wanted to just get out of the heat because today is so hot. So that is what I'm using. I also do put in some dehydrated onion. So normally you could use fresh onion in this, but fresh onion tends to go really liquidy, and whereas the dehydrated stuff kind of makes it keep its shape. Also, my stepdad absolutely hates onion. So the first time I made this, I made it without onion. Second time I made it with the dehydrated onion, and it is so much better. And he can't tell that it's got onion in it then because it's the same texture as this. So it's fine. I also add the tiniest dollop of Dijon mustard. Of course, you've got your crushed garlic. I'm just using the crushed jar garlic today, but if you really wanted to, you could use fresh garlic in this. I just use this one because it's already cut up really small, really fine. This Stone Mill is from Aldi. This crushed garlic is honestly the best one I've ever used. And then you've obviously got your butter. We buy the salted butter. We only use it for cooking. We just use your other butter for toast and stuff, but we buy the salted stuff. I am not sorry. So that's basically all you use for the sauce, and I'll tell you how to use this, how to make the sauce and everything as we go. Okay, to start off with, I have a small knife. This plate I'm going to put the stalks on. I'm going to remove the stalks from each item and just cut the leaves up. I will admit, cut up each individual herb, individually. But you don't have to. I just do because then I know each herb is cut up the same, because it is important you get this to be quite small, otherwise it's just not going to work properly. So this is the sage, and I have to admit, until we planted it, I had never used sage in my life. The only thing I had heard you use sage for is for burning in the house, and I know it's different, like it's a different one, but the only thing I'd heard that you use sage for is for burning in the house to get rid of evil spirits. I have to fully admit I had never used it before until this, and I'm not joking, it makes such a difference. I was someone that was like not against it, but I didn't want to use sage. I only planted it because it was one that did well in the sun. And then one day I just Googled Like, I wanted to use all my herbs and I really wanted to make something herby, but sage was the one that came up that goes really well with chicken. And so I tried it and it's amazing. And I have to admit, I absolutely hate herby stuff. Like, you know, things have that really natural herbal taste to it. I absolutely cannot stand it. I think it is the worst thing ever. Like, you know when you get vitamins and stuff and they taste really herby? Absolutely cannot stand that, but this is, you will not be disappointed in this at all. I will say I normally put chives in this, but I have used a lot of our chives lately and they're down to about this tall. I need to let them grow a bit more. I might actually plant another 1 or 2 chives in the herb garden. I have enough room for it, but we've used a lot of them, so we need to wait for them to grow. But I do normally use chives in this, and we normally have dried chives, but I think we got rid of them. Okay, so now it's all cut up quite fine. It will kind of still shrink and everything. I'll show you up close in a second, but it will still shrink while you're cooking it. So don't worry if it's not too fine. But obviously, like, it will still shrink a little bit. So please keep that in mind as well if you're using fresh herbs. We've moved over to the stove and I'm going to be using this burner here in the corner, which I should probably use the camera down a little bit more. There we go. So I'm going to put it on about medium heat for about a minute or so, just to get the pan really hot. I want the butter while it is melting to kind of burn as it's melting. So this pan doesn't really take long to heat. I am going to get a knife and open my butter up a little bit, and I start with a nice big chunk like this. The butter will reduce down and thicken a little bit. That is why it is important to use, oh sorry guys, I thought you could see it, but I use a big chunk like this to start off with. It seems like a lot, but please keep in mind the butter will reduce down and will thicken. There we go. See, you hear that sizzle? That's a bit better. But the butter will reduce down and it will thicken, and yeah, so I might actually move you guys even closer so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so you can see it's going a bit brown and it's really bubbling. That is fantastic. I'm actually going to turn it up high, and I am going to add a little bit more. I'll start with just half a piece like that. reduce it down just so that actually melts instead of just burning. While that's going on, I'm going to add, a huge scoop of garlic, maybe even a little bit more, because this garlic just adds so much sweetness to the sauce, and the garlic will aid in the butter burning. So I want to cook that for another minute or so. So the garlic actually starts to burn in there as well. You can really see it like burning in there now. I am going to add that last bit of butter. It seems like a lot, but please keep in mind as well, it will thicken up once I add the herbs as well. So basically once that's melted, it's fine. I will also add about that much mustard. Sorry guys, I forgot I was zoomed in. I'll add about that much mustard to the pan. This is the Dijon mustard, not the honey mustard or the whole grain. Whole grain mustard does work with this, but the Dijon mustard's a lot smoother and you won't get the grains in it. Now I'm going to turn it off and let it sit. As it's cooling down, I'm going to sprinkle in the dehydrated onion. You see the onion's already cooked. It needs to be like rehydrated again. So I don't need to actually cook it with the onion in it. And now I'm going to add the herbs because it's not actually boiling and cooking anymore. So this, I'll just stir it through. This will thicken up the mixture as well. Sometimes I find once it's been sitting here a while, I need to add some more butter again. I know it seems like a lot of butter, but please keep in mind, guys, we cook an extra amount of chicken, extra amount of food each time because we then either we freeze it or we take it again for lunch the next day because my stepdad works, I work, my mum works. So what I'm going to do is now I'm basically just going to let that sit here until I'm all basically ready to put it on the chicken and cook it. So I will sit it here now because it'll let the herbs and the garlic, basically it'll just let all the flavour go through it, and it'll just thicken and it'll sit here, and just the flavour that will go through this will be absolutely phenomenal. It smells so good in here right now. But that is what I'm going to do. I usually let it sit here for like an hour or so. If I wanted to even make it the day before, I could put it in the fridge. But I usually let it sit here for an hour or more. Just to really let the flavour go through it. But now it's looking fine right now, so I'm just going to let it sit here, let the flavour go through it, and I'll be back later to show you guys what I do for the rest of it. Okay guys, so the rest of this video will be done through a voiceover because my stepdad had come home and you could hear him on the computer. So I'm just prepping a salad here. I thought I would just share with you guys that little bit as well so it's not as boring. Other reason why I got the milk out is because I also made some pudding things for dessert you may see in the background. But basically I just cut up some bacon, I cut up cherry tomatoes, I used a leftover bag of lettuce, a carrot, I boiled some eggs as you saw, so I basically just made this like really big salad with like everything you put in a salad. and I realised we ran out of baking paper, so I was using aluminium foil. Baking paper does a lot better, I will say, but the aluminium foil, I'm glad that we had it, because otherwise, with this being burnt butter like stuff, it would have just stuck to the pan. So I am so glad we actually had something at least. So after that, I just got the chicken out the bags, because we buy our meat in bulk and then we freeze them in portions for us. So there's 3 pieces here. We actually didn't have some left over. I just like a lot of sauce. Although this isn't really sauce, it kind of the butter all just burns away, and really it just ends up being the herbs that are stuck to the chicken, but it is so good and is so nice, and it smells absolutely amazing while it's cooking. So what I do is I just literally spoon it on top, spread it around. This is the thickest that I've made it, and this is the best that it has actually ever stuck to the chicken before. So you could also marinate these like overnight, or something else, but here you go. I had the water boiling, so I added 3 eggs to the water, because they were a bit cold. It, lowered the temperature a little bit, but oh well. I then decided to move the eggs to the back burner, which was a little bit bigger. That way they would cook a little bit quicker, and I turned our really small frying pan onto the burner that I just had, because that is what I was going to use for the bacon. Now what you see on the pan there is just a bit of oil spray. The chicken I put in the oven at this point, because don't forget I started doing this a lot earlier so that I could actually film this. Basically, I just put the bacon in the pan, cooked it till it was really crispy. I didn't realise my SD card had actually run out of storage, and so I didn't get a chance to film me putting the rest of it together. Also, my mum had come home at that point, just as the bacon was done, so I didn't end up filming the rest. But basically, obviously, I cooked the eggs, sliced them up and put them through the salad. I cooked the bacon really crispy, waited for that to cool as well, and put it through the salad. There was parmesan and everything through it. It was a really nice salad. I also had some curly fries in the oven for the chicken as well. And obviously the chicken was cooking. I cooked it on, I want to say, about 200 degrees, because I do want it to really crisp up and kind of burn, but you also want it to cook. So just keep an eye on it. But this is the finished product. It was absolutely amazing. I think it is one of the best things I've ever made in my life. You can also do it with chicken breast or thigh fillets. Thigh fillets is probably the best one. Chicken breast is a bit dry, but you can do it with those bits as well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!